Before the arrival of Europeans in the 1830s, about 60% of Illinois was covered by prairies. Earlier French explorers called it La Grande Prairie. Much of that was wet prairie that occurred throughout the vast prairie landscape. There were also savannas with a few large scattered trees with fire-resistant bark, and floodplain forests along rivers, protected from prairie fires. In the mid-1800s, only 6 to 19% of the land was forest in the 4 counties where the Land Conservation Foundation has properties. Today, forest land is only 3.5% of those 4 counties. Just as humans use rivers and streams to travel, so do the animals among us. Forested areas and wetlands along rivers and streams are the transportation corridors of the natural world.
The primary importance is, with the connectivity of a corridor, is that the plants and animals are able to transfer their genetic material up and down the corridor. There are many insects and plants that propagate slowly, maybe a few hundred yards a year by seed or flight. And then animals like deer and many of the smaller mammals, they need to be able to get from one place to another over a long distance in order to keep the species viable. And what's happened in much of the country is the habitat's been fragmented.
It's the mission of the Land Conservation Foundation to preserve and restore natural communities in east central Illinois, to create interconnected corridors, to provide wildlife habitat, and connect people and nature.
The first Land Conservation Foundation property was the Mettler Woods Nature Preserve in DeWitt County, west of Clinton, which we acquired as a nature preserve in January of 2005. The most common trees in the uplands are various species of oaks and hickories. Mettler Woods, at a little under 90 acres, is a valuable remnant of pre-settlement woodlands. On May 30th, 2003, a major tornado passed through the woods, taking down and damaging a large number of mature trees. Many of those trees, now on the ground, are home to insects, salamanders, snakes, small mammals, fungi, and lichens.
I love the wildflowers. The wildflowers grow under trees, and I'm particularly interested in trees. And here we have a mesic woods that is white oak and hickory, mostly shagbark hickory, and I just am fascinated by the trees. The white oaks will actually host about 500 insects and birds, and what hosting means is that the insects can lay their eggs, produce caterpillars, and then the birds can have their young and feed them soft food like the caterpillars.
There are deer and smaller mammals, most of them nocturnal, such as raccoons, possums, tree squirrels, mink, and mice. There are woodpeckers, warblers, nuthatches, and blue jays, among many other birds. Common upland wildflowers include jack-in-the-pulpit, spring beauties, geraniums, trout lilies, and trilliums.
I really like trillium, so I really love the clusters of trillium plants. And I have only seen green dragon a few times, so it was really a treat to be able to see the green dragon plant here.
In 2010, the Land Conservation Foundation bought a property on the south bank of the Sangamon River, west of Monticello. It was in the floodplain and actually had a levee.
The people involved with the Land Conservation Foundation initially decided to keep the levee intact so that people can hike on the levee even during a moderate flood and see the natural floodplain on the one side and the restoration area on the other.
We've had to fix the levee many times. We spent a lot of money on the levee drainage issues. To allow water to pass through the levee, we had a number of large culverts installed, and to protect the levee, we put in an overflow structure about 2 feet lower than the rest of the levee that allows high water to pass back and forth across the levee without causing significant erosion. Now the levee's walkable almost all of the time, even during floods, and it's a popular way to walk and get back into nature. On May 23, 2017, the Bruce Hannon Levee Trail was officially opened. Bruce Hannon led an 8-year fight in the 1970s to keep Allerton Park from being flooded by a proposed reservoir. He went on to lead Prairie Rivers Network until he retired in 2007 and was a founding member of the Land Conservation Foundation. There's an app you can use on your phone as you follow the Bruce Hannon Trail. The app has a lot of interesting information about the trail, the animals that live in the corridor, and some history of the corridor and the area. The bottomlands surrounding the levee is a fascinating place, more interesting and more ecologically varied than upland forests.
The thing that I like the best is when I'm out here and there's water on either side of the trail sort of swirling around, and you're walking along and there's the movement of the water, and it just seems really alive and very exciting, and there's like no other place in the world I've been where I can just walk on this little bit of land between moving waters.
And as I've volunteered, I've learned more and more about the plants and have seen, different fauna each walk. And so the landscape is different, but also I'm different because I know how to recognize a spring beauty now, or I know what a pileated woodpecker is, right? So watching the trail kind of grow and evolve, and then as a very novice naturalist, like my knowledge of the forest and the area has grown as well.
Educating kids about nature is important. At the annual Land Conservation Foundation Halloween event, kids visit the trail to learn about the plants and animals the floodplain forest supports, and to come face to face with Bigfoot, of course. In addition to maintaining trails, it's also important to minimize the impact of invasive species. Most of these are imported ornamental garden plants that are now out-competing native plants in natural areas. This group from the University of Illinois is removing oriental bush honeysuckle along the Bruce Hannon Trail. The Levee Trail allows access into the floodplain forest when it's flooded, but it can also be a dangerous place. If there's water flowing over the levee, turn around and return when the water level is lower and it's safe to walk the levee. Deer, mink, and groundhogs have been seen on the levee. Beavers are also present and damage the levee with their burrowing. One enterprising great blue heron was captured on video, catching a number of fish as they swam over the spillway.
Charlotte Brady was a watercolor artist. She, and later her husband Dan, lived in Brady Woods for 47 years, where she painted hundreds of watercolors inspired by the beauty of the plants she found there.
Charlotte was intimately connected to the woods just because of the beauty of it, which we shared.
Brady Woods is best known for large expanses of bluebells in the spring, But it's much more than that. It lies along the Sangamon River at the border between Champaign and Piatt counties, on the eastern border of the Piatt County Forest Preserve's Sangamon Park.
This place to me is a sanctuary. All the years that I worked, I would come down here and you would, your stress would just melt away. It's just heaven. It's heaven. I mean, listen to, you can hear the geese right now. I mean, just to be part of nature, it's what we're all meant to be.
The springs here are fantastic because we have both open prairie flowers and wooded. The array of spring beauties and dogtooth violets and everything else that's there, and it just lights the place up, and you get a feeling of release because it just envelops you, this whole woods and all the nature.
You have these gigantic cottonwoods trees and gigantic sycamore trees.
That's one thing about the woods and nature, and why it's important to save it, is it gives one a space that's not possible in all the noise we normally live in.
In 2020, the Land Conservation Foundation acquired property along the Salt Fork of the Vermilion River in Vermilion County. Since the site includes the place where Jordan Creek enters the Salt Fork, we got to work erecting a sign to let people know it was now the mouth of Jordan Reserve, and began surveying the borders and planting trails. To the south, there's a steep hillside that hosts upland trees and wildflowers, such as trillium, bellwort, May apples, striped violets, and spotted geraniums. North of the access road, there's the river and bottomland with a floodplain forest. Spring flowers include redbud, phlox, violets, jewelweed, bluebells, and bristly buttercups. Among the many animals, there are fox squirrels, raccoons, deer, and birds, including grackles, woodpeckers, and the occasional flock of red-winged blackbird.
One way we check on the health of the Sangamon River is by conducting mussel surveys. Mussels are freshwater shellfish. They depend on fish to host their larvae. So the number and types of mussels can tell us a lot about the fish in the river.
Here's a pink eel splitter.
Volunteers report on the number and varieties of live mussels we find, as well as the dead shells. Mink, raccoon, muskrat, and otters all eat mussels. Combing the riverbed for mussels is not only serious business, it's also great fun.
The Sangamon River is also home to the Mudpuppy, an aquatic nocturnal salamander. This Illinois Department of Natural Resources survey crew, headed by Marissa Jones, is setting over 50 underwater traps looking for mudpuppies. On the following day, they return to check the traps. Mudpuppies are the host for the salamander mussel, the only freshwater mussel known to have a non-fish host. The salamander mussel is an endangered species in Illinois, and the mudpuppy is a threatened species. Mudpuppies can get along without the salamander mussel, but the salamander mussel larvae must attach specifically to mudpuppy gills until they mature into juvenile mussels and continue their life cycle. Mudpuppies are rare, and on this trip they'll find only one. This mudpuppy will be measured, weighed, and chipped.
wrong ways.
A small skin sample will
Oh, do I need
also
to
be
hook him
taken
on?
for DNA.
No, definitely didn't think so. He doesn't have any marks out on his tail either, but man, this... I got it! I had it! Were the last time.
Having these species in a river means you have a healthy river.
To celebrate the Mudpuppy, the Land Conservation Foundation hosts an annual Mudpuppy Festival in Monticello. It's a chance for conservationists, volunteers, and the community to get together to promote and celebrate the Mudpuppy and the river system that supports it.
Nature reserves are very important for the plants and wildlife that live there, and the people who visit them. They are also important to us because floodplain forests act to absorb and hold floodwaters, regulating the flow of streams and rivers downstream, and they help recharge the Mahomet Aquifer. They help sequester carbon, playing a role in reducing the impact of climate change. Finally, we have to remember that we too are a part of nature. We build and maintain trails in our reserves for you and your families to visit and experience the beauty and richness of the natural world. Preserving natural areas for people or wildlife forever.
You can find more information about the Land Conservation Foundation and our reserves on our website, landconservationfoundation.org, and on our Facebook page. We frequently post event announcements as well as photos and videos of native wildlife.